I seriously suck at this game. First we create a new layer called rough. In this layer we're going to make a rough sketch of the Among Us character. When I think of drawing a rough sketch, I think of the shapes that make up the character or the thing I want to draw. So with Among Us you have a lot of round shapes and you have a lot of rounded rectangular shapes. Don't be afraid to get messy, it doesn't have to look perfect. It's called a rough layer for a reason. So the first thing I decided to draw was the hazmat of the character, the body. The next part of the rough sketch I do is drawing the eye of the character. If you make a mistake with your rough sketch, you can always press Ctrl Z on your keyboard to undo any mistakes that you've made. Next, I decided to draw an egg on top of the character's head. It's one of my favorite hats from the game. I really like eggs for breakfast. It's just one of the favorite things I have for breakfast. And if I had enough money, I would have eggs every day of my life. I mean, seriously, I'm a big fan of eggs. Now create a folder called body. Now we're going to make a line layer. Let's drop our rough layer's opacity down to 21% so we can see what we're drawing when we draw on the line layer. Click on the rough layer and then drop the opacity of the rough layer to 21%. Now click on the line layer in the body folder. Select the brush tool. Now click on the line layer in the body folder. Now trace over the rough sketch with the brush tool. Now draw the body section of the character in this layer. In the body folder, create a subfolder called colors. In this folder, we're going to brush in colors for the body section for our character. In the color folder, create a layer called base, which will be our base color for our character's body. Now create a layer called dark, which will be our dark color for our body. You can click on the arrow in the folder to extend it or hide the layers. It's just easier to organize all your things if you put them in folders. Now we create an eye folder. In the eye folder, create a line layer. Now you can see the similarities that we're doing now. We're going to create very similar things every time, creating a folder and then creating layers inside that folder. Now we're going to draw the line of the eye section of the character. Now create the colors subfolder in the eye folder. Now create a base layer in the color folder. Now create another layer called the dark layer, not the color layer. Whoops, my bad. Now create another folder. This folder we're going to call egg. Now create the line layer for the egg group. Now draw the egg line on the egg. Now create a color folder inside the egg folder. Make sure to put your color folders under the line layer so that the colors don't go over the line. Now create a base layer inside your color folder and a dark layer inside your color folder. I'm going to create some more color layers inside the egg folder. This new layer I'm going to call yolk. And if you want, you can add another layer on top of yolk, which will be light. Hide your rough layer, we don't need it anymore. You can press on the eye symbol to hide the rough layer. Now click on the line layer in the body folder. Click on the magic wand tool. Now click inside the body. Press Ctrl on your keyboard and click on the other section of the body so that you have both sections selected at the same time. I've moved some samples of other characters from the game so that I could sample some of the colors from the characters. So these are the two examples that I have for the characters. Now I'm going to sample. How you sample the color is you click on the color on the color section on the left hand side where you see the two color blocks. Click on the block. You'll see an eyedropper tool. With that eyedropper tool, you can now select a color and it will sample that color. I decided to use that yellow color as the base color of my character. Click on the base layer inside the color folder that's in the body folder. Now click on the paint icon, paint the selected areas that we see on the picture. Next, we're going to create a thing called a mask. You can tell the program to only paint in a specific area and not paint outside. You can be a bit less careful when you paint. Once you have that mask layer, it won't paint outside of that area ever again, which is super convenient. Hover over the base layer. Press Ctrl on your keyboard and then click on the base layer. Now click on the color folder in your body folder. At the bottom right, you will see a mask icon. Click on that mask icon. Now you will have a mask for the color folder and for everything inside the color folder. Now let's click on the dark layer and sample a color from our reference. I chose the darker yellow for the shadow, which will be the dark section for the body. Now click on the brush tool, and now we will be brushing in the dark section of the body for our character. Always look at your reference when you want to redraw something. It's always a good idea to have reference when you're redrawing something, or if you're trying to redraw or try to draw something new. I wasn't very happy with the shadow. I thought it was a bit too harsh. So I decided to change the color for the dark color of the character. You can double click on the dark layer from the color folder. And once you're done double clicking, you can then go to the color overlay layer. You can tick color overlay and then click on the color box in the color overlay section. Now you can copy the following code on the screen to get your new shadow color. I normally like to sample the base color and then try and darken it and then also bring down the saturation, because I think normally that's what I think. I think when things go darker, the saturation drops slightly. In order for you to adjust the saturation and the brightness, you can see that there's an HSB. S is saturation and B is brightness. When you bring down the B, it becomes darker. When you bring down the saturation, there's less saturation, becomes less colorful and more dull. Normally, less saturated colors are more realistic and earthy, and the more saturation you add, the more unnatural it looks. To make it official, I right-click on the dark layer and then I choose the rasterize layer option. Now we're moving on to the eye section of the character. I've chosen the base layer from the color folder in the eye folder. Now let's go to the eye section. Click on the line layer in the eye folder. Now click the magic wand icon. Click in the open space inside the eye section. Now let's click on the base layer in the color folder. Now let's go to our reference and choose the eye color. Click on the color block on the side. The following color is the color I use for the base color of the eye. Now click on the color folder that's in the eye group. Now click on the mask icon. Now let's darken up the eye. Paint in the dark section of the eye. Again, I decide to change the color of the shadow for the eye because I wasn't very happy with the sample of the color that I chose. So again, we go to our layer, our dark layer. We double click on the layer, click on color overlay. And then once we're on the color overlay section, click on the color box in the color overlay section and then put in the following code for the color. Now we have our official shadow color for our eye. Let's glow up the eye a bit. We create a new layer called the light layer in our color folder for our eye, and we choose a very bright white color for the light of the eye. Now let's brush in the light section of the eye. Now let's color in our egg hat. Click on the line section, choose the magic wand tool, select inside the egg area and click. Now we're going to sample the egg color. Now let's go into the color folder in our egg folder. Select the base layer, paint in the selection of our base layer. Now we select dark layer. Now we paint in the dark section of our egg. Now we select the yolk layer. Now we paint in the yolk of the egg. Now we paint in the yolk of the egg. Press the light layer in the color folder of the egg folder. Now we're adding the light part of the egg to give it that nice glow. Now let's create the shadow for our character. I sample the color of the shadow for the Among Us character. And then I click on the rectangle icon on the side. I hold in my mouse button, don't let go, choose the round icon. Now click on the artboard and drag until it's at an appropriate size. The next step is to click on one of these links to get more content from my channel. Nah, just kidding. But you can click on one of these sections if you want to check out more of my stuff. Thanks.